Hi, I am really glad that you're here. You know, in a world that's largely based on social media appearance and other meaningless things, it's really rare to hear people speak from an unfiltered, genuine, heartfelt place. I'm your host, Lacey Hartzell, and This is Temporary is a safe, casual, non judgmental space for you to hear from other people's experiences with their mental health. And through this, I hope you can see that all of our voices are powerful enough to help other people feel seen and heard and validated. Because even when you feel like it, you're not alone.
Are you afraid of what's next? Me too, me too. You've seen the best.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to This is Temporary podcast. I am your host, Lacey Hartzell. My pronouns are she, her, and we have a returning guest today who I am so happy to have. Okay, Austin, welcome back. Tell us about yourself and update us.
Hi, I'm Austin Ryan Hunt. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a Chicago-based actor, director, theater maker, teacher, a little bit of everything. Um, I did an episode nearly 2 years ago now.
Yes,
I was listening to it again this morning.
me
You said,
too.
"Hey, I'm listening to your episode," and I was like, "I should probably do that, so we're
Yeah.
on the same page." Um, but I live in Chicago now. Lacey and I went to college together,
Mm-hmm.
so that's how we know each other. Um, cool. Yeah. Hey.
Cool, yeah. So much has happened. I mean, so last time I talked to you, you were in Alabama, right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
had just packed up my Chicago apartment and moved everything
Right.
to storage and decided to live in Alabama for a undetermined amount of time.
Right. How long did that end up being?
365 days
Huh. To the dot.
to the dot.
Dude.
Like I got there. No, seriously, like I got there at 6 p.m. and then my sister went into labor 6 hours later and had my nephew that next day. And then I left, I guess it was 366 days, because then
Wow.
I left the day after his first birthday and
Wow.
moved back to Chicago.
Wow. And so now you've been in Chicago for what would that be like almost a year?
A little over a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
a
So
little oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I moved here June 1st.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm
And
living with Nelson. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I'm living with
Oh, I
Nelson.
love that. Okay, we went to college with Nelson.
Yeah.
Amazing human and very, very funny.
So
Very
great.
talented. Wow. Okay,
Uh,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay, that makes
So
me happy.
we both moved to Chicago around the same time, like pre-pandemic, around like 2016, 2017.
Okay.
And had seen each other a couple times, but we were both just like super busy and
Right.
whatever. But when he moved to Chicago, I was working for Apple, so I helped him get a job
Right.
at Apple.
Okay.
And then when I moved back to Alabama, he moved to home to Indiana with his family
Okay.
and was working for Apple from home. And then after, like almost a year in Alabama, I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I gotta get back to Chicago. Like, no real reasons why, but it was kind of just like the time is coming. Like, I must leave.
Yeah, yeah.
So Nelson and I were kind of talking at that time, and like he was gonna put my name in for a job at Apple again.
Awesome.
And then it kind of just became like, oh, like, have you started looking for places? What are you looking for? And it's funny because the like 3 years we lived in Chicago, um, but like didn't live together, we both just like constantly complained about how much we hated our roommates. Uh, and just like how much we had to like take care of them and everything. So it
Oh.
was so nice because like once we started living together, it was like, Nelson, I can't tell you how excited I am to live with an adult. And he was like, you have no idea. So it's just been great. And like, he's so wonderful. Like that, like
Mm,
I couldn't have done this last year without him. And he's so funny, such a light. And like
yeah.
we were on improv together, which is where him and I had our
Yes.
most of our interactions together. So it's just so much fun, like living with him. Like the
Yeah.
bits that we'll go into, just like so
Ah,
crazy, so random.
you keep each other extra creative, I'm sure.
Yeah, and
What a
like
gift.
and he reminds me of like parts of myself that like I had always like I'd forgotten about. Like he was like, Austin, your physical comedy is so good. Like I was always so envious of it. And I was
Yeah.
like, I never knew that. I never thought of that as like something I was good at until
Right.
he said it, and then I was like, "You're right, like, thank you." Like, anyway, I love him, he's great, he's wonderful.
Wow, I could see it's funny, I was on improv with y'all for, like, a
Yes.
minute, and I remember looking up to y'all as, like, the gods of improv in my
Oh,
world. No, seriously, I mean, obviously, we could, you know, watch stuff online. We could watch Second City and all that kind of stuff. But as far as who I was directly connected to, it was like I was just grateful to be on the team. I was like, sometimes my zaniness really kicks in and works. Other times my anxiety keeps me from making any choices, you know.
mm,
But y'all felt so natural,
mm,
And of course it's cool to see what you are like naturally good at, but in my mind y'all were good at everything. I was like,
aw,
"Mm." So it just makes me really happy to hear that y'all are together, y'all are sharpening each other, you are
yeah,
supporting one another and living together in a safe space. Okay, so I know the for the people watching on YouTube, it's a little in and out on the camera, but we get moments of like clarity where it's like
okay.
I literally when I first saw your bedroom when you came onto the screen, I was like, it's like watermelon sugar. Because it says, is it a velvet pink bed?
No,
I
it's
can't
just
tell.
like
It's so pretty.
I don't know
In
what it's
jewel
like a
tones,
y
gold, green walls. I'm
lots of
like, sorry.
plants.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, all the mirrors.
Mm,
It's, yeah, and you're a plant daddy,
I am, yeah.
like
I
a
like
good one.
yeah, me and my boyfriend together, we have
How
over
many?
150, but we have, like, several uncommon to rare specimens. It's a
I
lot of
love
fun.
that so much. Do
Yeah.
you name them?
No, not
Okay.
really, but, what I really love with plants is, like, rescuing them or, like so I worked at a
Yeah.
when I moved back to Chicago, I worked part-time at a plant shop for
Okay.
a few months, just, like, literally 8 hours a week. I just needed something to do to get out of the house.
Sure.
Um, but we would frequently have, like, sales where literally we called them wet sticks because it would literally just be, like, 5 or 6 inches of a stem with
Uh-huh.
no roots, no leaves or nothing, could
Wow.
just be a stick on the ground, and you throw it in moss, and you give it light, and you keep it the right temperature, and it'll start to grow roots, and it'll start to grow a little leaf. So that's what I love, and then I love plants that, like, people have, like, abandoned. They're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is sick," and I'm like, "I can save you." So I love all of the baby plants, which is
Yeah.
fun because, like, everything looks the same when it's little. Like, when something has
Oh.
one leaf, like, it all looks the same. So it's cool watching them all grow and being like, "Oh my gosh, what is this one gonna be?" And it, like, puts out a new leaf that's, like, a slightly more mature shape, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, there's no way it can be this. It's this now." Or it's like the new leaf comes out and, like, the back of it has a little bit of a red tint to it, and you're like, "Okay, so we know
Oh,
it's part of this family." It's so much
sure.
fun, and it's, like, given me so much life over the last year because, uh I've been trying to approach life more like plants, and that,
Yeah.
like, coming from such, like, a competitive and
Mhm.
achievement-based background,
Mhm.
like, so much of life is, like, the rat race of it and, like,
Mhm.
go, 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 and it's, like, dumb because it's, like, what I think we're seeing really grossly demonstrated in society now is, like, you can't win at life. Like, the people who are now billionaires and don't know what to do are now flying to space just for shits and giggles, like, instead of, like, ending world hunger, or,
Yeah.
like, ending homelessness. It's like
Yeah.
there's there's no way to achieve, like, you can't win life,
Right.
And so but there's still, like, this internal like, not desire, this thing that's programmed in us to, like, go, 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 achieve, get more, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, to what end? Like, when do you stop to enjoy, what you do have? So, what I
Right.
love about plants is that, you can't win plants. Like, there's no like, you don't I don't collect plants to be like, "Oh my god, like, I did it." It's like,
Right.
no, like, I collect a plant because I wanna learn to observe it and take care of it, and the only thing I can do for my plants on any given day is, like, whatever I think I can do best for them that day, which
Yeah.
honestly, quite often is just leaving them alone. It's just appreciating them, but it's like
Yeah.
checking every day. It's like, "Oh, does it need water?" Like, "Oh, does it need to be tied up to its pole?" Like, and just constantly checking in and doing for the plant that day what that plant needs. And
Yeah.
the pandemic did that to me too because, like, I had no career, I had nothing to do. All I had to do was wake up every day and take care of myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, kitty! What's their name?
Calcifer, he's named after. Hi, Bubba, come here.
Calcifer. Oh my gosh.
He's a big boy.
He is
Um,
beautiful. What
yeah.
what breed is he?
Domestic short hair.
He's so
He's
cute.
6 years old. He was a rescue.
Oh my gosh. I
He's
love
missing
him.
he's missing one of his incisors,
Okay.
so he's got a battle wound,
He's
but he's a
majestic.
oh, he is, and he is such a cuddle bunny too.
Gosh, oh,
He
I love a
doesn't
cat
think
like
he is,
that.
but yeah, he's a good one.
Wow. Okay, so everything you were saying about plants, it reminds
Mhm.
me so much of I can't stop referencing Martha Beck's book, The Way to Integrity.
Okay.
I might have it's the way, yeah. Any way of integrity. But she talks about foundationally like our nature versus our socialization,
Mhm.
and that's kind of like what you're saying, like, okay, our socialization, our culture teaches us to be achievers, teaches us to want this, do that, blah blah blah, but our nature instinctively knows what we need, what we
Mhm.
want, what we truly desire. And she was like, so there's that difference between like, yeah, I want something, I crave something, but it's like, but you've probably on some level been taught to think that you do. Versus like what you actually want is to get outside and absorb, sunlight and nutrients and nature and cuddles from cats and from humans that you love and feel safe with and eat good food. And like that's all you actually need, you know? And so it's like you're saying with the plants, I love that parallel of having as evidence of wanting, and oftentimes if you look at the way that you treat animals, kids, plants, others in general in your life is a reflection of how you talk to yourself and interact with yourself. And so to hear your growth, what you've been through, especially since the displacement of the pandemic, hearing even the specifics of, I love to get a plant that I can hardly even identify. It's
Mm.
like it's like maybe no one even wants to work with it because it's intimidating of like it might even look hopeless. And then I work with it and nurture it and give it what it needs until I see the fruition of what it can be. It's like you, by talking to you and by the ways that you and I have connected with our mental health, it's like that's what we had to do with ourselves. We felt at many times hopeless, beyond repair. I don't even know what this plant is anymore. What is this
Mm.
plant? Like,
Wow.
and it's
Yeah.
it's cool to see like you get life by giving life, you know? Oh, right? But truly, what I cannot think of a more like true to yourself and your true nature and what truly brings you to your own integrity than by nurturing nature, which is also yourself. You know, I
This
just
is
think
so
that's
crazy.
beautiful.
I was listening to an article. Um, I love Apple News because they have a lot of articles that are read, so I can listen to a podcast, but listen to an article. And
Okay.
so it was an article about basically like the new sobriety and how it's
Oh,
like how being sober is now like not a lame thing, and like a lot of people are like
right.
proudly sober, and there's a lot of like
Yeah. Okay.
mocktail bars that pop up,
Yes.
and like all these celebrities who are doing these non-alcoholic adult beverages, you
Right.
know. Um and so in the article they referenced this TV show Single Drunk Female, which was
Yeah.
on Freeform,
Right.
which I loved. I
Okay.
adored
I
that show.
haven't
It
seen
was
it, but I know of it.
great. It is
Okay.
just such um a very real depiction of uh what it means to be us and like be in a world that expects so much of us and have like
Sure. Sure.
unhealthy coping mechanisms, and how
Yeah.
we can it'll work. Like we can float along really close to rock bottom and think we're fine, you know? Like but as long
Yep.
but we're like, I'm not touching the bottom, so I'm good, guys, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I
Um
love that. Yeah.
so in
Because
the
it's so
in.
true. We talked about that even in your first episode where it was like, routine and busyness kept us thinking we were functioning
So
well
dangerous. Yep.
because we were still going. I was like,
Yep.
well, I haven't stopped yet. And you're like, I was still getting A's. Yeah.
Yep.
Was I overloaded? Absolutely. Was I okay? No. But did I look okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Could have
was
convinced
I
anyone.
exactly. Like, trying to convince everyone, trying to convince
And
myself.
yourself. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but on
Yeah.
the show Single Drunk Female, it's obviously about this young, woman who is getting sober, and
Yeah.
so she goes through to Alcoholics Anonymous and goes
Okay.
through this 12-step program,
Yeah.
and it's not really a show about that, but it's part of her journey, so they're talking about it in this article as well, and they were talking about how the thing that people really quickly realize with Alcoholics Anonymous and
Yeah.
programs like that is, like, the key is helping others. Like, the
Right.
key is
Hmm.
showing up for yourself, but so you can show up for others,
Right.
you know? It's
Right.
showing up, and in the article, the way that they quoted it was like, it's showing up to set up the chairs before the meeting, you know? It's
Hmm.
going to help someone move, and it's like, people who are at rock bottom who, because of their addiction, have lost relationships and everything,
Right.
they're desperate for connection and they can't find
Yeah.
that, which is why they're turning to substance,
Right.
or other things, being
Right.
busy, quite,
Right.
quite. And it's like, actually, the key to unlocking that is being in service to
Service.
others, but
Yeah.
also like in like glad service. I don't know if that's like really a
Well, yeah. Well,
phrase.
because it goes back to what you're saying. You can't be in service to others if you're not in service to yourself. Otherwise, it's coming from a place of manipulation oftentimes. It's like I'm trying to do something, it's like and there's no like shame in any of it. It's
Mhm.
all different journeys, different lessons you have to learn, but there is this play. I mean, it's so true with all of the like AA and Al-Anon, and I was reading, which is largely based in that program, the book Codependency No More, or Codependent No More. And kind of one of the main things it gets to is service, which all of these
Mhm.
programs will, because like that's what's going to fulfill you is your connection to humanity, your
Yep.
connection, and not just human, your connection to life, because it can be nature, it can be
Oh yeah.
animals, it can, it's just what what yeah, it's the whole what I said with you and your plants. It's the giving life gives you life, and giving joy gives you joy. But it's one of those things you have to take your steps to get there. You can't fast forward that. And you can't
Right.
you can be on a conscious level, you can know it, but that doesn't mean that it has registered in your body and soul and heart yet. And
Yeah.
that's been a hard thing for me to learn on many levels, is like I'm pretty smart and I have worked really hard
You're very smart.
to thanks. But I have worked really hard to know and be knowledgeable in the realm of mental health, in the
Mhm.
realm of self-care and self-healing, and just being self-aware. But knowing all those things, I think I tricked myself, especially when I started this podcast, which I have no regrets. Everything is in its own timing, but I see my gaps of knowledge then and now, because it was head knowledge then and it's become heart knowledge now. And now it's like
Mhm.
I tried to fast forward because I was like, I knew what I was talking about. I knew what I need to do, but I was so subject to my own life that I didn't see where I was falling into, you know what I mean? I was like,
Mhm.
oh, now I get it, but it
Mhm.
but it took I mean, and we'll forever be learning these lessons, there's again no shame. We're all on our own, at our own pace.
But, like, in the same realm, I heard
Yeah.
something recently from an artist talking about, like, reflecting on their own work, and, like, how it's so easy to look back on something and be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. That's so bad." You know what I mean?
Hindsight is
And
2020.
right, but, like, the flip of it is, look how I've grown. Like,
Yeah.
when I did that, I was doing the best job I could do because that's what I knew. And if
Right.
I'm looking back now and I'm like, "Oh my god, what was I doing?"
Right.
That's a testament to my growth, not how
Yeah.
bad I am as an artist. It's a testament
No.
to where I've come from. So
Right.
same thing with mental health, right? When we like when we think we're doing good, or
Mhm.
whatever. Where I
Mhm.
currently am is
We've
like, I thought I
convinced
was
ourselves.
yeah, I thought I was doing fine. Like, on the back end, I'm like, "How did I get down here?"
Yeah.
But, like, to be able to look back and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I was doing that with good intention,
Yeah.
or I was doing it because I thought it was gonna fix the thing. It
Oh,
was all
oh,
up here
yeah,
instead of down
absolutely.
here.
And we were where we were meant to be. It really is like you can't I mean, we have to know who we are not to know who we are,
Mm,
and in a season you can be someone. It's just it's all discovery. It's all self
mm,
discovery. And we talked. I was. I loved that I got to listen to that episode that we did in August. It was like August 2020,
mhm.
and there were so many things we both were saying where I actually was like, I was so fucking proud of us and so
Yeah,
fucking proud of you and all the nuggets of wisdom. And I was like, wow, it's fun too to see the flip side too, where you give yourself the credit to see like, oh, I think I all along was in much better condition than I realized,
sure,
or
yeah,
your higher self was like, don't worry, you got this,
yeah,
because you were focusing on being present. You were focusing on not comparing your journey and just allowing yourself to accept, embrace, celebrate exactly where you were rather
mhm,
than allowing expectation or preconceived notions or oh gosh, socialization. Just be like, you should be here. I hate shoulds. I hate them so much. But now, I don't know. It's cool to see the enjoyment of life, come back to color, the vibrancy of like again your home that you're in now. It's your nest, it's your grounding space
mhm,
now. And I mean, what all is exciting to you right now in life? Like, what all does your day to day look
mm,
like,
hmm.
and what's your mental health like?
Um, Great questions. I am in a place right now in my life that, um, I'm learning to be selfish again.
Yeah.
So, sorry, there's a siren coming
Yeah.
through.
I
Benefits
like
of
the
living in
term
the
too.
city.
Yeah, living in the city. I love the term too. I mean, we put the connotations we want on them. I don't think selfishness has to have a negative connotation like it has
Mhm,
historically, but I do like my therapist taught me self-centered.
mhm,
He was like, I think that has a more grounding connotation. Of course, people can turn that for the negative if they want, but I like self-centered because you're going, I am centering on myself so that I
mm,
can, you know what I mean?
sure. I think I still so quickly fall into the I'm not quite there yet, right?
Sure.
Because what I call me being selfish is actually me just showing up for myself the way I need to. So,
Perfect.
like, in order for me to have the thing that's hardest for me in relationships is to be honest about what I need or what I want, especially
Okay.
when it's not going to be congruent with what I think the other person wants, right?
Is that like a childhood thing? You think a pattern of saying my needs weren't important, so I found it hard to even know what I needed to know what to ask for it? You know?
I Yes,
Okay.
exactly, but
Okay.
even more than that, it's like I need to anticipate the needs of others
Oh yeah.
so it doesn't get bad, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I can take care of myself on the back end
But
so
it's
to
like
be
a lingering codependency.
yeah, and it's just like, the lingering codependency, um,
That I and correct me if I'm wrong. That's my projection.
right,
I know
right.
codependency so well.
It's, I think the words that I use for it are that, I am so worried about keeping other people happy
Yeah. Feeling responsible for other people.
that I will put not only what I want, but
Yeah.
I will put what I need above not what other people need, not what other people want, not what I think other people need, but what I think other people want. So it's like
Okay.
I may not I think I know what you want,
Okay.
so I'm gonna present that to fix that problem
Mhm.
instead of saying what I want.
Right.
Or instead of saying, "What do you
What do
want?"
you want?
Like,
Yeah.
there's multiple layers of that, you know? So for me,
Yeah.
when I say I have to be selfish, it's the thing of, like, when I'm sitting on the couch, we're watching a movie, my boyfriend gets up to go get something from the kitchen, and he says, "Do you want anything?" right?
Yeah.
I would initially be like, "No, I'm good," right?
Right.
And then I might get up in a little bit and, like, get myself some ice cream. But I have to tell myself in those moments, "No, be selfish," and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'd love for you to dip me some ice cream right now."
Sure.
And
Yeah.
he loves to do it. And so
Right.
that's what the being selfish is it's not maliciously selfish,
No, no.
but it's allowing the easy things that come to me. When
Right.
people say, "What can I do?" It's like, "Oh, you've done half the work, so, like, let me tell you how you can help me."
Right. Allowing people to help you and allowing yourself to maybe even ask for help.
I didn't even know what I needed help with.
I
Like, it's like how
know,
like, my therapist said to me a couple sessions ago, she's like, "What do you need?" And I was like
yeah. Yeah. Mm,
I was like,
huh.
To figure out what I need
Yeah,
is what I need right now because I don't know." Like,
right,
I'm too busy navigating the world
right. Well, and that's
for other
another
people.
yeah, that's another reflection I think. I do think this can be very specific to men, but I also think that and that's because men in particular are more pushed to be more of the achiever. You know, now we all are. Especially a very American thing. I think it's a very universal thing to be, achieve, to do, to win, to prove, but
To provide.
yeah, exactly. And I think when you swing so heavily that way your whole life, you're never taught to cater to your emotions,
Exactly.
what you need. To even that's why the language and I that's why I love Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart. Right? Oh yeah. Because she said, hi, we all want to communicate and connect, but a lot of us don't know the fuck how because
Right.
we're using inappropriate language, if we're using language, to be able to connect. It's like if someone actually knows how you're feeling, if you know how you're feeling, then you can say, you can speak from that. And therapy kind of 101, especially in dynamics with people, they talk about I statements versus you statements. It's not a you, it's not an attack. It's the two of you working together to have a solution, to understand one
Mhm.
another, right?
Mhm.
And so it's all about being able to be self-aware enough to go, I feel this. And you can even go, I don't know why,
Yep.
but I can recognize that I'm disappointed, and that disappointment has led me to anger because I feel betrayed. I feel like you lied to me, and that person could go, "Oh no, 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 no. Here's what I feel," and etc. We could go on,
Right.
those tangents forever. But again, it goes back to it is our job, and again, no shame. We're all we're supposed to be, but it is our job as individuals to learn to um, retrain our brains with new thoughts, new perceptions and perspectives, but also new vocabulary to identify how am I feeling and how can I communicate that to others so that they can help me. And
Yeah.
we can find solutions together so that I can find a solution. And that's what therapy obviously is so great for. And I also don't want to dumb down like how incredibly difficult this work is.
Oh, it's the worst. It's the
It's so
best,
frustrating because
but it's
it's
so
yeah, it
difficult.
just takes time, but it's always worth it, beyond worth it. I think it's the most important work we can do, because it again brings us back to ourselves and connection in return.
And
Um,
so
mm,
many of us grew up uh in different ways, unhealthy homes and
right,
unhealthy environments, right?
right.
And there's I think for most people grow up with, like, emotional gaps in their childhood, to
Yeah,
no one's fault, but,
right.
like, as a little person, as a small human being in the
As
world
a
learning to
dependent,
navigate the
yeah,
world, yeah, you
yeah.
can't do everything for yourself, but also,
Mm-mm.
like, parents are adults too, and they're taking care of themselves, and so it's like, accepting that, like, your childhood isn't what you wanted it to be or needed it to be,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
that you deserved better, and
Yeah,
being okay with mourning that and being angry about
yeah,
that, but
yeah,
also having compassion for your family and the
yep,
situation that they were all in individually.
yeah.
Um, but, like, it's like we grow up, the sky is blue, the grass is green,
Yeah.
right? Um, and we learn that, but the way that we interact with people at the most intimate level most often is
Right.
at home. So it's like the emotional language and even just the way that we operate in our household as we're younger, we're
Right.
told that is blue, that is green,
Yeah.
you know? And what
And don't
what we're
question
learning.
it.
Yeah, and we don't talk about those things
Yeah.
in our other relationships unless we're in a really good personal relationship or in a really good therapeutic relationship, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like learning those things and being like, "Oh, that's not normal?
Right.
That's why that doesn't work? Like, that's how it always happened, like, that's
Yeah.
how it worked in my family, like, I had no idea that, like, that's not even a thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, so you
Yes.
quite literally, as an adult, start realizing, "Oh, there are things that, as a child, were so solidified and
Mhm.
permanent and repetitive that they became the rules to which I wrote the world
Oh,
and
yeah.
how to
I look at
operate
my
within
whole
the
life that
world."
way. Mhm.
Yes, like,
Mhm.
if you grow up and every time you speak about something bad that happened to you at
Right.
school or something that
Right.
was disappointing, you're met with either it being put down or being told, you know, like, "It doesn't matter," then you
Right.
literally grow up your whole like, your the rest of your life being told that, like, the things that you care about don't matter.
Yep.
And so, like,
Internalized beliefs. I mean, it's
yes,
yeah, and they start to cement themselves, especially on a younger level, you know?
and
'Cause it's
realizing so much of what we believe in the world is not the laws of the world.
mm-mm,
They
mm-mm.
are the rules that we've created to be able to frame our world,
Yeah, and
but
it
there are.
served us then. That's the
Yes,
thing that that helped me was like, okay, so this worked then, and here's why. And like our coping mechanisms that developed just out of our body's survival
survival,
mode.
absolute, yes.
You know, we went, I had to do that. Like, okay, it's funny how you grow older and you go, I've always thought this was part of my identity. This was part of my like cemented personality.
Who I
Um,
am.
yes. And you're like, but no, this was just a coping mechanism out of a survival mode throughout my dependent years that I didn't realize I had a choice about. You know,
Yep.
I don't have to live like I used to think, especially with bipolarity, I thought I'm just a reactive little bitch, you know?
Mhm,
And I just think I'm difficult and I am emotional, I'm dramatic, I'm a hypochondriac. And I got to the point where step one was, well, at least it's valid for me. It may not be valid for you, but this is valid for me. So that was step one. But I
mhm,
also was still excusing and labeling myself with
mm,
not good behavior, especially for an
mm.
adult, because I thought that's who I was.
Are
And
you
I
saying
thought
about, like, labeling yourself, like, wild and just, like.
or yeah, I'm fine with wild. But it was this like I'm overreactive. I'm
Okay, like,
irrational.
volatile,
It was just
yeah.
like that's who I am, baby. Take it or leave it, you know? Like if you want if I'm too much, go find less. You know,
But,
but
like,
it
that's the pendulum of life where, like, when
yes.
you're not allowed to be that your entire life,
Right.
that's why you were like, "We're embracing this shit,
It's
baby,"
true, it's
and you
true,
have
and
to.
again, I still say no shame because I love my evolution.
Yes.
But I think what I was missing I love the whole, if I'm too much, go find less. I love that because it's ownership of I love who I am. But I was doing it from a rebellious point,
Yep.
which meant that I was comparing and opposing myself to a social structure and identity I thought I was supposed to be, which I was still playing the game of society and culture
Mhm,
rather than going, oh, but who are you, Lacey?
mhm,
Who do you want to be? And so now, what I was missing was accountability. I was
mm,
missing my individual accountability and responsibility
mhm,
for my healing.
mm,
And I was like, oh, how have I oh shit. It was like the realization of how have I not only played a part, but how have I perpetuated unhealthy patterns in my life and the people whose lives I've been a part of. Because
Hmm.
of my, like, this is just how I am, I just yell because that's a family I came from. And I just have these big explosions and you have to take it if you're going to be with me. It's like, I break down. And if you can't hit, oof, I was just playing victim for so long because I think on a shadowy subconscious level, I wanted to. And
But you also needed to. You had to be
yes,
able
of
to get yourself
course.
out of that box. You literally had to
Absolutely.
break out, and,
Absolutely. I
like, life
needed to be that. And you know what? If we want to, I have a little cheeky realization that, you're always the villain in someone's story. You know what
mm,
I mean? And it's like, boy, I got a lot of boys who I am probably that, and maybe a girl or two that I am that in. But it's like that ability to look at yourself, your shot, and look at your healing and where you needed to be in order to get to where you're going, who you're becoming, and you're healing. It's like so humbling to then go, okay, okay. So the people who have hurt me the most in life, um, it was so less about me and more about their learning experience where
mm.
they were. And it gives you that, yes, that whole like, oh God, not only can I forgive myself, I can forgive them. I can let this go. I can understand it. I have compassion and it's registered in my heart now. And that again takes time.
Well,
Uh
for me,
and work.
it's not even like I can let it go. It's like, "Okay, I have to stop blaming that thing now, or I have to
Yeah.
stop using that thing as an excuse."
Exactly. Well, I need to stop holding those people hostage to the part that they played in my narrative. It's like I think it was my dad talking about a therapy appointment he had where he was like, his therapist said we all have at least four stories going on in every two-person dynamic. There's a story you're experiencing, there's a story they're experiencing. The third story is the one that they're assuming about you. They're projecting or just assuming, and the mind reading that you're doing of them. And it's like those are four stories. And if we're not communicating the reality of what we're all experiencing, how the fuck will we know and find connection and healing, understanding anything, if we're not going, all right, so, you know, but I think what's tough is especially with certain people. I mean, there's obviously something to be said on extreme, scenarios where it's like, oh, I had to find healing on my own. And I do
Mm,
think that it always starts with you. I don't think that your healing is dependent on someone else. I don't think you and
mhm,
I think everything we need is within ourselves. I do think that. However, the extra like spice and butter and flavor of life is interacting with others. So it's
and
like
it and it's in interacting with others that, like, the parts of us that we need are revealed.
yeah, absolutely. Even something as simple as what you were saying about you and Nelson waking up parts of each other or reminding each other of parts of yourselves. You're so right that the joy and I mean, okay, if we're talking about romantic relationships, they can be so tough. They can be some of the toughest things. Even the most beautiful and rewarding and healthy relationships can be so tough. That's just
Yes.
life, baby.
Yep,
Um, but talk about the reward that comes with knowing yourself through knowing someone else and
yep,
going, "Oh shit, I never would have had to face that if I weren't with you, but thank you for waking that up in me."
yeah.
You know?
Or being able to say, "Hey, there's something really scary around the corner, and I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but, like, will you hold my hand while I take a look?"
Yeah. Oh my gosh, having that support and it's like it's beautiful when it comes from a place of okay, well, first of all, I'm obsessed with Ben Platt and his song Grow As We Go. You know it, right? Right?
Yes.
So that song gives me a lot of hope because I am a romantic at the end of the day. As much as
Mhm.
I love my individuality, especially after everything I've been through, I what I love is this idea that there does exist someone else who's healthy enough that can add to your life, not subtract. It doesn't have to all be painful learning lessons all the time. It can also be beautiful and be worth it and be more pouring into you than taking out of you. And I like that that song kind of points it out. I was like, I'm not here to like, I'm paraphrasing a lot of it, but it's like we can grow as we go. You can ebb, I can flow. If you're up, I'm, low, like or whatever. It's not a dependency, a codependency, but it is a it's a symbiosis.
So my boyfriend and I, we have a phrase that we use. We call each other our co-captains.
I love that.
Um, because it's kind of the idea of like he thinks of it, I think, in terms of like a boat. I always think of an airplane, but he's like, no, that's a pilot. I'm like, well, they say this is your captain speaking. So, but it's like when there's a plane, it's like there's a captain and a co-captain, or a captain. We call each other co-captains, where it's like I know my job, you know your job. I
Yeah.
might take a break while you drive.
Yeah.
You might say, hey, can you do this for me? But it's the whole idea of like I'm not flying my plane next to yours.
Right.
We've decided to fly a plane together,
Sure.
and that there's going to be a lot of things that make it seem like we're in two separate planes,
Sure.
and all we have to do is like communicate
Yeah.
that kind of.
Yeah.
So like something Brene Brown says that we use all the time is like the story I'm telling myself, you know, of uh like this thing happened and this thing happened. So like the story I'm telling myself is that you feel this way and da da da. Da. And it's like
Yeah.
and so often it's the other person being like, no, I'm the one having a panic attack right now and you don't see it.
Yeah, and
And
you
so that's
personalized it.
yeah. But like that's the thing where it's like if like I'm feeling just like anxious as fuck and I have
Yeah.
no idea why, I realize so much of anxiety, right, is like trying to figure out why we feel anxious or trying to hide why we feel anxious.
Right,
So we
right,
very frequently, like him and I, will just be like, yo, I'm feeling so anxious right now.
right.
And he knows when I say that he'll be like, do you want to talk about something? And I'll be like, no. He's like, do you want a piece of chocolate? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you
Mhm.
want to go take a shower? Do you want to cuddle a cat?
Right.
Like, he's good at also like being like, cool, do you want to do something about it? Or do you want to
Right.
keep feeling it? Because sometimes it's like, no, the anxiety I'm feeling right now is because the old program in me is telling me I'm being lazy. But what I'm actually doing
Yeah.
is just enjoying life. Like,
Ugh,
you know,
I
so
love
it's,
that. Well, it's that permission. He gives it's like it's so nice when you feel safe with someone to continue to do the work with them. That's why I like hearing these examples of the beautiful communication y'all share. It's so different, and it's an inspiration to me because I mean, heck, it wasn't until April of this year that I really felt like I discovered that I was worthy. And I started to actually
mm,
love myself. And I realized, oh, wow, every relationship, dynamic, friendship moving forward that I have, I no longer need anything from anyone. I no longer, because I have it. And here I've got it.
mm-hmm.
But I can still let people help me. I can choose, like you said, I can choose to communicate with someone. I can and you're in control again, but in a beautiful, managed, self-aware way. And I love that y'all aren't trying to fix one another. You're trying to help one another. There's such a difference there.
Just trying to be with one another. Not even
Yeah.
not even help. It's like, "Yo, I'm feeling anxious, and there's nothing either of us can really do about it right now."
Right, right.
But I
Acknowledging
don't
your
but
humanity.
I don't have to hold it by myself, you
Right.
know? And it's like
I can sit here
the
with you.
right, the things that I would do for other people that I would never in a million years ask for them to do for me,
Yeah.
like like if I had a I can't think of a specific friend, but if I had a friend that was like, "Hey, I've not been doing well lately, like, can you come over and help me cook a meal and, like, just pick up around my place?" I would be like, "Hell yes, like, that is my
Yeah.
shit, like, I'll
Yeah.
bring music, I'll bring food, like, let's go," right?
Mhm.
I'm getting chills because, like, I would love if someone trusted me enough to do
Yeah.
that and had the
Yeah.
vulnerability to say that. Never in a million years would I say it to someone else.
Exactly.
If someone
Well,
said to me
but wait, but our language, you can say historically never in a million year,
historically,
but now
exactly,
you're opening up to allow yourself to ask
and that's
because
where
you
it's
know how rewarding it can be for everyone.
and it's also, uh, if I have all my shit together so that I can take care of everyone else, like, I can't I can't have all my shit together by myself, so, like, that's
Right.
a whole illusion anyway, right? But,
Right.
like, by admitting where I need help, I'm
Yeah.
actually creating opportunities to connect with the people I love because
Oh, yeah.
I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable, and I'm, like, saying all this to myself as I'm thinking it, so
Yeah.
talking to myself, right? Like, as I am able to acknowledge those gaps and ask for help, it actually builds connection because it allows someone to show up for me, and
Yeah.
it allows me to know someone is showing up for me out of no other place than love.
Right. And it takes you're taking ownership of your life and the life you want, the connections you want. And again, like I'm not saying everyone, in my particular case, I lived in victimhood for like 28 years. Um, but I do think we all find ourselves in our own version of that at times. And I think not asking for help, what I learned for me was like, if I'm just sitting at home depressed and sulking in it, and of course, back to the Enneagram, my little Enneagram 4 indulgent, melancholic self
Mhm.
sometimes needed that, but I would go overboard and it was like playing into this victim, no one loves me, I'm just whatever. And I would allow myself, I just saw how much I participated in my own suffering. And
Mm.
it's because I wasn't asking for help when I could have. I have a support system, but it's very similar to how it's like we talked about with medication in the last episode, where it was like, I will just pridefully or victim in my victim mindset be like, no, I'm going to make myself suffer longer before I take the medication to help because I don't deserve to feel better, and it was like, hey, I had to ride that merry-go-round of suffering for a long time before I chose to get off. I chose to learn to ask for help.
And if someone had pulled you off that earlier, you would have probably gotten back on. It's like one of
Absolutely,
those
that's why
things
we
where it's like,
repeat our toxic cycles.
"Yep."
I mean, I look at the dynamic on the outside, I'm sure all of my past relationships looked a little different. On the inside, however, I was repeating all of my childhood traumas and all of my
'Cause it's
wounds
what
and
you
all of
know,
my
it's the only
yeah.
way you know to operate in the
And
world.
it's our brains. There's nothing wrong with us, but awareness is the key to unlocking ourselves and healing and changing. And I think we're here for evolution and connection. But I know that our brains are hardwired to repeat what we know. And all I knew was my child. And so it was like in my brain, that was love. In my brain, that was like this yelling, this dynamic of rejection and all the excitement, of like dysfunction and the extremes, all of it was like, that's love, baby. I just I switch into this like vaudevillian.
But, like, not even the delusion of, like, the bad parts of that is love, but it's, like,
Yeah.
the delusion of, like not delusion, but, like, the narrative of, like, love is
Well,
supposed
it
to be
can be a
hard, and it's
delusion. It
supposed
can
to be
be.
difficult, and it's hard work, and so when those things start
It's
happening in relationships,
tortured.
you're like, "Oh, I guess that's, like, what everyone goes through, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Or
just how it's
if you're
supposed to
like,
be."
that's just me, it's always like this. Or the victim that goes, why does this always happen to me? And you're like, bitch, no one made you choose those people. And I think, and again, no shame on anyone. Those people, the people that you're ever paired with, y'all are bringing out what you want to in each other on a subconscious level, and it ultimately, again, I think it's ultimately happening exactly how it's supposed to make you aware, to bring to light the bullshit that is like, do you want to keep doing this or are you fed up yet? Nope, you still
Yeah.
good? All right, let's go another year of it. You know?
Yeah. But it's like
Oh,
I view my journey as, like, constantly, like a mm, like, there's, like, a part of me that's buried deep down somewhere, right?
yeah,
And there's
yeah.
all of this, like, dirt or whatever on top,
Socialization or trauma on
and
top. Yeah.
it's just, like, slowly
Sifting.
raking away
Mhm.
parts of that, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, it's like I'll get through, like, a season of my life, and I'll be like, "Wow," like, "This is," doing it, and then, like, a year later, I'll be like, "What the fuck was I thinking?" And it's
Yeah.
like it's because, like, you get through a layer, and you're
Mhm.
like, "Alright, we cleared some stuff away.
Yeah.
Now we, like, clear," and it gets harder and harder, and I'm at the
Yeah.
point where it's like, it is getting so close to the very some of the things I'm working through, like the very core of who I am, and it's really painful, but really, really rewarding, but it is literally shifting so many perspectives in the ways
Yeah.
I see and operate in the world and things I think are possible, like,
Yeah.
it's just great.
I love it though. I feel like you and I are on very similar wavelengths. And I think a lot of it I mean, I think age is just a number, but there is something to be said about like your late 20s. That's like you realize how much you don't know. Because you're rewiring and programming everything. And I have gotten so comfortable with not knowing. And I'm like, actually, now I'm excited by the unknown, and I'm excited by it because I feel safe with who I am. I had to get to a place which took so
Oh,
long and so much work, but where because I feel safe and secure and grounded and I know how to trust myself, because I can depend on myself, I can trust I can handle whatever I face, whatever's ahead, even though it's all unknown until it
mm,
happens, And it's like that curiosity that allows me now to challenge myself and what's in front of me rather than just accepting everything as truth. I go, what do I think about that? What do I feel about that? Is
hmm,
that truth for me right now? It doesn't serve me. Let it go. I don't have to agree with everyone. Whereas I used to be so, tossed by every wave. Now I can go, I'm just going to take a deep breath and go underwater and like meditate on this for a second. And I'll come up when I'm ready. I just never gave myself the permission because I didn't think I didn't have anything within me yet to do that, if that makes sense. I wasn't equipped. But it reminds me too, like, I mean, I feel like you and I, we connected so much or throughout life, obviously. But even in the last episode, we talked a lot about you know, where we grew up, what was impressed upon us, having this bubble of faith dynamic, this bubble of social expectations and family dynamic, and how I mean it doesn't limit it to any one thing, but how especially with like sexuality, having to face yourself and go, oh, I have internalized homophobia. The same way as a white person from the South, I had to go, oh, I have internalized racism. Oh,
right,
I have internalized like hatred for women. I just
mhm.
realized all these things. And I was like, I have to rewire and get to go, what do I want to think about this? How do I want to be in regards to this? So,
And
um,
that's, like, what I was talking about exactly earlier about, like, the way we grow up, we accept as the rules of the world,
yeah,
right? Like, the things that are fed to us in church, in school, at home,
yeah,
tell us all of these things, but all of those things are coming at us through a system that is based on
oppression,
patriarchy and
mhm,
oppression and racism, you
and
know? And it's like
control, all of it.
the
Yeah.
the hardest thing for people to do, not I shouldn't say the hardest. People have such a fear these days of being labeled a racist.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, we all are because we are in a racist world. Like, know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we are in a racist society. And so me not identifying, but me saying, yes, I have internalized racism,
Hmm.
right? Is not a testament to who I am as a person, but
Right.
a testament to the world that I'm
Yeah.
in and a testament of me working to change that, me
Right.
acknowledging that and saying it's
Right.
not perfect, but I acknowledge that I don't see my biases, and that I'm
Yeah.
working on it. And it's when people
Absolutely.
harden and they're like, no, I'm not racist, or,
No,
like
but
I'm not
it's
homophobic. It's like, listen.
yeah, well, it's I loved what you said. It's separating your identity. Because even for me, like oh gosh, I used to think if a thought came into my head, I was attached to it as an like my identity was attached to that thought. And boy, do I have crazy thoughts. Um but not only that, but I also have what a lot of our thoughts come from the conditioning. So
Mhm.
you learn to check them, correct them, and replace them. That's why I listen to affirmations like all day long,
Mhm.
and just meditations, especially when I catch myself in more of an irritable place where I'm like just really feeling bogged down by some inner critic. I'm like, okay, so she needs some
Mm.
more attention because that wasn't
Mm.
mine. That was given to me by XYZ. But
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
but I love that. Like so I'm a very proud pansexual woman, and I say pansexual because it's the one that aligns most with my understanding of myself right now. Um,
Yeah.
I'm constantly evolving, and that used to scare the shit out of me because people wanted answers from me, especially because it wasn't until and I've heard a lot of it. I've heard, "Is this a trend?" I've heard,
Right.
"You're just saying this for attention," and blah. And I used to allow those things because what people say, it hurts you when you believe part of what they're saying. And I was challenged, and I was like,
It only hurts you if you believe what they're
exactly.
saying.
And I was just confused. And then
Right.
I once I gave myself permission to be, I was like, Lacey, there's again nothing wrong with you. You can feel what you want to feel, love who you want to love, be attracted to who you want to be, but don't think you have to give everyone all these answers that you don't even have. And so it was facing my internalized homophobia, which was, I mean, oh, I still have little voices that come up that's like, tells me, I'm not even, it's so funny because I've evolved so much in this part of my life, but I'm so comfortable with being where I am, with having
Mhm.
questions, with evolving every day. I get excited to see who I'm going to be, who I'm going to change. If we limit and label, or sorry, if we label ourselves, we limit ourselves.
Hmm.
That's why I like labels when they help us connect, but not when they disconnect you from your growth. So yeah.
I've I've come to, like, the understanding that, like, language is so limiting,
Yes.
but it is one of the most direct ways that we have
Yeah.
into emotion and into our world, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's why it's the same reason when you say "I love you," it can mean so many different things, but when
Yeah.
you start specifying the type of love, it gets closer and closer and closer to it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and so when we don't have oh, what did you just say? I lost my train of thought.
Okay. Let's see. Backtrack. So I was talking about well, giving yourself permission to not
Uh-huh.
know, giving yourself like the room to grow and to say I don't
Oh,
know. Yeah.
labels. So, like
Labels.
yeah, like, people want an answer from you, like,
Yeah.
to give you a label so they feel more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
So
about their
they so
comfort.
they know where to put you, right?
Yep.
And the reality is people are uncomfortable it's what you were saying earlier, people are uncomfortable with other people when they're uncomfortable with themselves, right?
Yeah,
When they walk
yeah,
into a room and they don't know how to operate with the people in there, they get uncomfortable. If you walk into a room entirely yourself, you could care less what people are wearing. You
you're
could
right.
care less who people are with, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
because what they're doing
has
isn't
nothing to do with you.
has nothing to do with you,
Mhm,
because if
mhm,
you know how you operate,
yeah.
you don't need the opinion or the view of
No,
others.
well, you've pointed this out before, and I loved this. And I try to live my life this way. I have my own little version of saying it, but um, you don't have anything to prove.
Mm.
Because you're already you, and you already are enough. You're already worthy. You already are all the things you are. So you don't have to walk into a room of the obviously is intimidating to walk into a room of new people. They don't know me. But if you just have that piece of like, I love who I am. I like my little mess I got going. I like
Or,
blah blah
like,
blah, you know.
like, damn, when I meet people at first, like, I'm always quiet, but 4 weeks into it, they start to have fun with me. So, like, let's skip the awkward 4 weeks and
Yeah.
have fun from the get-go because it always happens.
Show up as you are,
Yes.
because people are going to reject you or they are not. I might as well speed up the process, because it doesn't have
Yes.
anything to do with me. I want to find out right away, am I for you? Are you for me? Or are we not? And if not, that's okay too.
And being the first one to take that first step of
Yeah.
authenticity
Yeah.
gives so much permission to everyone else to
Oh
also
yeah.
do the same thing, you know? So it's like by
Absolutely.
you taking that step like, I hate walking into rooms where I don't know people, but if I can find one person and
Mhm.
be like and I say to myself, "Make them feel comfortable." And I go, "Hey, how are you?"
Yeah.
Like, suddenly, they're themselves, I'm
Oh,
myself, you know? It's like that's the
gosh,
Ted
I
Lasso of it all
love
for me
that.
too, of it's just
Yes.
like show up and just dare to take that first step, and it allows so much for other people to show up
Ugh,
too.
well, but that also beautifully brings full circle to your point of service and showing wanting to bring life out of others, because it reminds me of I went to my 10-year high school reunion.
Brave.
Thank you. And I absolutely had anxiety. But then I went, Lace, I bet everyone has anxiety. This is an anxiety ridden event in life. And everyone who here is brave. And I honor it. And I understand the people who didn't want to go, you know? But I realized, like you said, when I took my attention off of myself and put it onto someone else, I was like, I just want to be present when I'm talking to this person, when I'm talking to that person. It was such an inspiring, enlightening, beautiful night because I put my focus on I want to have connection. I want to feel present. I want to be excited about the people in front of me. And I was that and then some. And it goes back to intention. It goes back to like, if I focus, that's why for me, meditations are so important every day in whatever form I do it, because I find even if it's just in my journaling, it may not be a sit and meditate. It can be I'm
Sure.
journaling and as I'm mindfully writing down what I want today to be. I want today to be fulfilling. I want
Mm,
today to be memorable. I want today to be connected and present. You know, I will experience it and I'll look at the end of the day. I'm like, "Whoop, I did that." you know?
mhm.
It's like that's how magical we are. And that's like I could literally talk to you forever
I
about
know.
this. But now I'm like you have me on a high and it's just so exciting. I feel so grateful to know you, to grow with you,
Mm,
even in the little spurts we get to talk and catch up, and that everyone who gets to listen to this gets to do the same
yeah.
because it's just the things in life that matter. I mean, again, we get to choose, I give meaning to whatever I want to give meaning to. I give
Yeah.
value to what I want to give value to. That's helped me a lot with my depressions and I used to feel so purposeless, but I was like because I'm focusing on the fact that I feel purposeless. But if
Mm,
I tell myself I am meaningful and the conversations I have are meaningful, I start getting all this energy from everything and I feel excited about life.
mm.
I feel full body yes to life
Yes.
because I feel present and just like wow, because we're all that magical, you
You know what
know?
it is? Full circle,
Yeah,
it's all improv.
it is, it is. I've been saying that.
If you walk into an improv scene and you're like, "Great, I have
Yes.
it all figured out, I know
Say
this is
yes.
how it's gonna go." But, like, if you walk in and you're like, "I have it all figured out, I know how this is gonna go," your scene will tank, you will
Yep.
not have fun. If you walk in if you walk in and, like, even what you were saying, Lace, about your 10-year anniversary,
Yeah,
if you go
yeah.
into an improv scene trying to make your partner look the best possible, it makes you
Mhm.
look good.
It's true.
Everyone has a fun
It's
time,
true.
you know? So, like, trying to approach life more in that way too, of, like, yes, and, like, I don't I don't have my plan isn't gonna work anyway, let's be honest, my plan for my life isn't gonna work, so, like, let's start with the plan and
Let's
then ride the roller
collaborate here.
coaster. Yes!
Yeah.
Because, like, I can either ride the ride or I
Yeah.
can be pissed that it's not a different ride. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, I'm still on the same ride. Like,
Yeah.
it's all my
Perspective.
like water rafting. Like, if you're
Ooh,
in a canoe and you're wanting to just have a lazy time and rafts come up, it can really
oh,
fuck you
yeah.
up because 'cause you're like,
Oh,
"Damn
yeah.
those rapids." But there are
Yeah.
people who get on those rapids on purpose, and they're like, "Let's
Yeah.
do it."
Mhm.
So
If
it's all
you
about your
have that
perspective
exactly, and it's having it's the acceptance, perspective and acceptance, you
and the
know?
trust of yourself that you'll make it through the
Yeah,
rapids.
absolutely. I mean, I think I may have said this in another episode, but I've been saying it to everyone lately that you can fear and doubt what's ahead. It's unknown, it's scary, but you can't doubt yourself because
Mm.
at the end of the day, I am equipped to handle what's in front of me, you know?
Fear and doubt aren't reasons to stop. Society tells
No.
us they are, but fear and doubt, I
And
find
pain,
myself
and pain.
yep, because
Mm.
it's like, someone said, like, "When you cry, you know you're facing the truth, you're not running
Yeah.
from it anymore." And it's, like, so true, you
Well,
know, like,
and when you
when you're
face opposition, You're like,
Yes,
"This must be important."
right! Yes, because you're like, I am growing through
Yeah,
something right now. Like, I am
yeah,
challenging a pre-held belief and
yeah.
not being limited by it anymore.
And what's more exciting than that, honestly? Like, that's why I love create I mean, we're all creative because we're all a part of this creation, whatever the origin belief is, and it's cool to see that you don't have to be some artist, in life to be a creative person creating your own life, creating your goals, creating your connection, creating your beliefs.
Creating
And
moments with people, like
yeah.
telling them that they have a gorgeous dog.
Yeah, and that's all we have at the end of the day because that person can
Yeah.
remember that forever. Do you
And
know
then
what I
sometimes
mean?
and then sometimes when you tell someone that they have a gorgeous dog, they say, "Thanks, do you wanna pet them?" Like,
And
superhero
then you get
unlocked.
to
Like,
pet a
that's all you
dog.
have to do. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love you so much. Is there anything on your mind that you wanna leave us with before we sign off?
Uh,
I feel like you've so much of this I've just been taking notes for fun.
um, I will say what I need to hear,
Perfect.
which is what I some of what I was saying in my previous episode too, so listening to it again, and I'm gonna get
Yeah,
emotional saying this, but, like,
we welcome it.
you can't have everything figured out,
Mm.
and, uh, you're not the end all be all. Like, there is something bigger out there, whether it's God or the universe or something, but, like, they're not gonna let you down,
Mm.
and, uh you deserve to have fun. Like, life is about having fun. If you're
Yeah.
not having fun, then, like, what's the point? And if you're
Mhm.
not having fun, when are you gonna let yourself decide to start having fun?
Yeah.
Like, when are you gonna say, "I will take the anxiety and the worry, and I will put it aside and say, I acknowledge those, but those aren't what is gonna drive my day." And
Mm.
you take care of them, but how do you just have fun and connect with people?
Yeah, allow yourself to because you deserve it.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love you so much.
I love you too so much, Lacey.
So tell us where to find you on the gram or wherever else.
Um,
if
I guess
if
I
you
have
want. Yeah.
Instagram and Twitter. I think they're both Austin
Oh,
Ryan Hunt.
perfect.
Um,
Can we
yeah.
catch you? Are you in any shows or
Well,
anything? I thought
I
you just.
just finished a show. I just finished a show at Steppenwolf, which was super exciting.
So exciting.
The hardest thing of my life,
Yeah.
learned but so much power from it, like, so
Heck
much being
yeah.
like, "There's no screw this, I got this," you know?
Yeah.
So I'm right now doing a on-camera intensive here
Yeah, that's
at a school here in
right.
Chicago, so it's like from 10 to 4:30, 5 days a week for 4 weeks.
Heck
I've
yeah.
never done camera work before, like, ever. So, like, it's been so much fun, and I think it's really gonna give me, like, the skills I need to kind of just, like, rocket on up to
Oh,
what's
heck yeah.
next. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Everything we're a part of is preparing us for what's next.
Yeah, and it's, like, always, I always like, something will come back around in my life, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, yeah, I did do a little sign language in 5th grade at church, like, that's so funny that works now." It's like
Oh,
everything is part of your journey, and you're just, like, adding it to your,
oh
like,
yeah.
bag of experience to pull out later.
Absolutely. I've had a lot of fun trusting that, being like, oh, especially with all of my like Paris and French connections, everything. I'm like, this was aligned. I had an Eiffel Tower bedroom when I was a kid. Like, I mean, everything is very. It's funny. It's like
I
we
love it.
create from an early age our higher selves or whatever you want to call it. They know, and so I'm just amazed by you and who you are. You inspire me. Thank you so much for sharing your heart, your
Mm.
journey, your growth, your relationship. Like it really is inspiring to me. I know to everyone who will listen, but especially like I'm like, there's hope, like healthy communication and like, it's the stuff. It's the good stuff.
Well, it makes me so happy that, like, you're doing this podcast and that there are people in your life that are willing to come on and, like, "Lace, that's so special that, like, these people are willing to share this much with you and with the rest of the world
Yeah,
because of your
yeah.
relationship to them. Like, what a testament to you and the
Thank
work that, like,
you.
you're doing. It's just I'm so inspired by, like, the people my age who are doing this, but also,
Yeah.
like, the work I've done with, like, some high school and middle school kids and the way that they're approaching the world and, like,
Mhm.
thinking about things like identity and pronouns and stuff like that and how it is red, white, and blue to them. Like, they know all of it. Like, it is
Yeah.
like, seeing the way that the world is changing and actually talking about this stuff instead of not talking about it and hoping we all figure it out by ourselves, it's really
Yeah.
bringing people together. It's the community, and it's given me so much, like, hope and light and, like, reasons to, like, tune into life every day, you
I
know?
agree. I agree. It's all where we focus. And I think we are choosing to focus on all the good that can come from it all,
Yeah,
from the way that we can all connect so easily with all of media. It's like all the
yeah.
different platforms. It's like use it for good and you see good.
Okay, I guess one last thing I'll say,
Yeah.
something that, like, really changed my perspective recently. There's, like it was, like, a YouTube video or TikTok or something on Netflix, I don't know, but it was like, "Okay, watch this video and count how many times like, how many people are wearing red," right?
Okay.
And so it's, like, this, like,
Oh,
15-second
because you're
video,
focused.
right? Yeah, and then it was, like, how many gorillas were there, and, like, you go back and you're like, sure enough, there are, like, so many gorillas just and, like, you didn't even see them, right?
Mm.
So you
Wow.
find what you're looking for, right? And
Oh,
so, like,
yeah.
even places as, like, tangible as, like, money, like,
Yeah.
if you are looking for something and not getting it, or things are there. Things that are there and they're available to you, and it
Yes.
all depends on what you're looking for. So, like, uh,
It all
I have a
depends
h
on what you believe too, because that's your whole
right.
perception. If I believe I'm a failure, I'm gonna confirm with life that I'm a failure.
And if I go to this restaurant and I say, "Okay, I'm paying $100, it better be good," and then I go, I've had steak better than I've had wine better than that, like, that's a little dry." Who the fuck am I that I spent $100 on a meal I didn't enjoy, instead of saying, "Wow, I have $100 to spend on this meal. I can't wait to see how great it is to eat something I didn't have to cook and just enjoy it." And
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
have to be perfect, but at the end of the day, I've eaten $100 meal, and I've either had a wonderful time or I've been miserable.
Yeah.
It's like, depends on what I wanna look for. And
Yeah.
not to self-blame for, like, when things are going to shit, but, like, to remind yourself that you do have the power to your brain has the power to not see things, just the
Yeah.
same way that you have the power to turn it on and be open to more energy.
Absolutely. There's some days because of all of my like internalized critical voices where I wake up and I'm very aware that that day what I need to focus on is feeling accepted,
Mhm, mhm.
approved of and unconditionally loved because I wake up feeling not.
Waking
And
up
I'm like,
every day and asking yourself that, that's a
mhm.
daily thing.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
just like as a dancer or a singer checks in with their voice or their
Mhm.
body, it's like,
Yeah,
what
warm
like
up.
like, "Oh, I'm doing great today." Like, "I'm doing great today." Like, if I wanna go do something else instead of doing my morning yoga, like, I can do that. And some days it's
Yeah.
like, I did my morning yoga, and I still have to cancel my thing later
Yeah,
because I
and
have
that's
to do what I need
okay.
today.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and it changes every day, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything's wrong.
And
Doesn't
there's
mean
no
you need
back
to beat
steps.
yourself up.
Yeah.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
just doing what you need to do to get through that day.
Ugh, ah, so good. Thank you
Love
so much
you.
for this. I love you.
I'm glad you're like, "Do you wanna do this again?" Because I was like, "Yeah," and then I was like, no, scary," but then I was like,
But how
"No, so
fun.
full.
Yeah, how
So
fun
full. I'm
is
so
it?
full."
I am too. I'm energized as fuck right now.
Yes.
And it's really hot out, so that's saying something.
I have a lot of, like, industry, like, email, like, website stuff I have to do, so this is really good because 'cause I'm gonna be like
Yeah.
for
Got
those of
it.
you
Did
that
that.
are those of you listening on the podcast, that was me power typing, by the way.
And he's a dancer, so every move he makes is beautiful. I love you.
Oh, I love you too, Liz. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.